So in terms of ideas or ways we can use discussion boards, we can use them as icebreakers. Students can introduce themselves. We can use them as tools for reflection. So the instructor or the teacher can post something and then ask the students to reflect. You can use them as free writing opportunities. You can use them for students to provide feedback. But one thing that's very important, and as we learned in the backward design unit of this course, I think there's a real good benefit of making your discussion boards task-oriented. Provide the opportunity for the students to interact authentically, right, with the discussion topics and reflect. So when you're developing your discussion questions, try to have open-ended questions to stimulate discussions, right? And very important, as we discussed again in the backwards design module, the discussion questions should be based on the learning outcomes and objectives that we have already discussed. So remember, our activities have to meet our overall objectives and outcomes. Try to make your questions as thought-provoking and relevant to student learning as possible so that you get authentic responses. Create questions in which there are no wrong or right correct answers. The questions have to make the students think critically, reflect, analyze, evaluate, and then create and construct, right? And this goes back to what we discussed earlier on in our earlier modules. The students first have to understand what it is that they're reading and what is expected of them, but then that gives them the opportunity to reflect and then create authentic material. And as we learn and as we've been taught as instructors, always be there to model what you want them to do. So give them an example of how you want them to engage in the discussion boards. Maybe give them a sample prompt and types of answers that are more appropriate and types of answers that maybe are less appropriate or not what you're looking for. We want to encourage student interactions. So remember, very professionally and politely encourage your students to interact, motivate them, try to assign points and grade values to these online discussions so there's some incentive for them. Anticipate what bad behavior may look like. So you want to publish a policy or some guidelines in terms of what language is allowed, what type of responses are not allowed. Remember, never respond in anger. You are here to be empathetic. You have to understand the situation your students are going through, and perhaps your students did not even understand what was expected of them, so be very polite when you respond to your students. Definitely have clear policies and guidelines, and do not push back when students have a different stance or a different belief than you.